What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of your Icing Wrong, the search for the best soul sauce. In today's episode number 8, we're going to be testing Salon Care 40 volume cream up against Chris Custom Kicks soul sauce. Let's get down to it. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. In today's episode of Your Icing Wrong, I'm going to be working with this pair of Jordan 11 Space Jams from 2016. I bought these Space Jams off of the homie Resurrection Kicks over at Got Soul. He came up to me and actually recognized me from some of my previous icing videos as the guy that got Chris Custom Kicks soul sauce on his hands and got a bad chemical burn. In the spirit of him recognizing me because of using Chris Custom Kicks, I had to de-yellow these Space Jams with an episode comparing Chris Custom Kicks to Salon Care 40. Let's start off taking a close look at these Space Jams so you guys can see exactly what we're starting off with. This is the newest rendition of the Space Jams, having been released in 2016, but as you can see by looking at them, they have been worn pretty damn heavily and have been beat up pretty good. The patent leather has been kind of scuffed up and scratched in a few places. The midsoles are definitely all creased up, and most importantly for this project, the soles are insanely yellowed. And you already know what that means. We are going to have to give them an icing treatment to get them into the best condition possible. I'm insanely excited to be working on this pair because these are the most yellowed kicks that I've had in a hot minute. First things first though, before applying the sauce, we gotta get these things nice and clean so we can see what they look like once the dirt and grime is removed from the bottom to get a true idea of how icy we can get them.
I start off using my Dremel Versa tool and a standard sneaker cleaner to get all the surface stains and dirt and grime off. I then use a stiff bristle brush to get into all of the crevices.
Now that I'm done cleaning these kicks, they're definitely looking a little bit better. Taking a quick look, you can see that the midsoles look like they've cleaned up a little bit, and the soles are definitely looking a bit better too. There's still a little bit of debris and grime on there that I couldn't get off 100%, but I think overall we're looking pretty good. You'll notice that these soles are still very, very yellow. Sometimes after cleaning up a pair of kicks, the soles won't look nearly as yellow as, but this pair seems to have maintained that same yellow hue, which makes it the perfect candidate for this icing video. Now that the kicks are clean, it's time to apply the soul sauce. As per usual, the left shoe is getting the Salon Care 40 treatment. The competitor today, Chris Custom Kicks soul sauce, and that will be used on the right shoe. Let's get into the icing process here.
Salon Care 40 volume cream can easily be found on Amazon.com. You can find it in a 4-ounce bottle, which goes for $13.83, a 16-ounce bottle, which goes for $14.99, or a 32-ounce bottle for $26.30. Chris Custom Kicks soul sauce can be found on chriscustomkicks.com. It's 8 ounces for $14.99, 16 ounces for $29.99, and 32 ounces for $49.99. After applying my sauces, I get the shoes ready to go into the ice box, which unfortunately I forgot to take footage of. After 48 hours, I remove the kicks from the ice box and I clean off all the excess sauce. I wipe down the sneakers first, and then I utilize my Dremel Versa tool along with some traditional sneaker cleaner to get all of the excess sauce off of the shoes.
At this point, these Space Jams have been in the icebox for a total of 48 hours. Let's take a closer look so we can see the effects of the soul sauces after one 48-hour session. What I'm seeing upon looking at both of these shoes is that there has been some de-yellowing, but clearly this pair of Space Jams is insanely yellowed and definitely needs another session at bare minimum. Going into this testing, I expected that there was going to be a massive difference because in the past, Chris Custom Kicks has always been the best soul sauce that I have used. However, upon comparison with these two shoes right here, it's looking like they're almost even. If I had to give an edge, I would definitely say that Chris Custom Kicks has an ever so slight edge in comparison to the Salon Care 40, but quite honestly, they're looking relatively similar overall. Something that is worth mentioning is the bottle of Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce that I'm using is pretty old. I don't necessarily know whether or not soul sauces degrade or lose their potency over time, so I actually shot a message over to Chris Custom Kicks to see if he's had any issues with sauces losing their effectiveness over time. I'm still waiting to hear back, and I'm really curious to see what he has to say, because if sauces do lose their effectiveness over time, I may have to run these tests again with a new bottle. At any rate, we got to get these Space Jams back in the ice box, so let's get another coat of the soul sauces on each of the shoes, and we'll get them back in the ice box for another.
One of the things that I recognized during the application of the sauces the second time around is that the Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce just wasn't spreading as easily as it traditionally did. It was very runny, but then it also had these granular chunks, which made it very difficult to spread evenly and get it sticking around the shoes. This turned out to be somewhat of an issue, and it's something that we'll actually address a little bit later on, just to let you guys know exactly why I think this is, and something that you can do to avoid this happening to your sauces.
2 48-hour sessions in on these Space Jam 11s. Let's take a closer look and see where we're at as far as the de-yellowing process is concerned. So I'm going to be 100% honest. At this point in time, I am not seeing much difference between the right shoe and the left shoe. If I absolutely had to give an advantage, I would say it goes ever so slightly to the Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce, as the heel of the right shoe looks like it's been de-yellowed ever so slightly more than the heel of the left shoe. Realistically though, it's not a major difference, and I had originally expected that the Chris Custom Kicks sauce was going to be absolutely blowing Salon Care 40 out of the water. Luckily, we are starting to see a little bit more of a result on these Space Jams than after the first icing session. I think that at bare minimum, at least one more session is in order. Quite honestly, based on the amount of wear in these things, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to restore that fully icy condition. Also worth noting, I have not heard back from Chris Custom Kicks yet, so I cannot say with any sort of certainty whether or not this sauce degrades over time. But honestly, I was expecting to see a little bit more of a result on this right shoe. Let's go ahead and get another layer of the soul sauce on there, so then we can see what a third session will do for this pair of Space Jams.
Application of soul sauce for the third time was more of the same. The Chris Custom Kicks came out runny with some kind of granular components, and I even kind of spilled over the edge a couple of times, which I cleaned up rather quickly as to avoid any sort of damage. After getting the soul sauce applied, I placed them in the ice box, waited 48 hours, and then took them out so I could clean them down and get all of the excess soul sauce off.
These Space Jams have officially been in the icebox for a third 48-hour session. Let's dive right in and take a closer look. So after 3 full sessions, I gotta say, I'm pretty surprised that these things haven't lightened up any more than they did. What's even more surprising to me is that the right shoe and the left shoe look nearly identical, meaning that the Salon Care 40 and the Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce have basically performed about the same. With my third application, the Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce was incredibly runny and it leaked all over the place when I was trying to pour some out. I think that this is probably due to the age of the sauce. I was able to finally get in touch with Chris from over at Chris Custom Kicks, asking if he had had any other issues like this in the past. I was completely mistaken and thought that I had purchased this bottle 1 year ago, but it turns out that I was wrong. He reminded me that the bottle of sauce that I was using was over 2 years old. I do think that it's worth trying to put these in the icebox for at least one more session when my new bottle of Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce comes in. So as soon as it does, I'm gonna get these shoes sauced up again, and we're gonna get them back in the icebox for another 48-hour session and see if a fresh bottle of Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce will do the trick.
So I'm going to be honest with you, this fresh bottle of Chris Custom Kicks Soul Sauce was a lot closer to what I remember having worked with in the past. Firstly, the sauce was definitely a lot thicker. Because of its viscosity, it was a lot easier to spread, which means that it was a lot easier to contain and not go overboard with. Additionally, the Chris Custom Kick Sole Sauce has a very pleasant kind of minty smell to it. One of the things that you do have to be careful for is getting this chemical on your hands, because it can cause some serious chemical burn and can be very, very unpleasant for hours afterwards. I definitely recommend applying Chris Custom Kick sauce while using gloves if you have the opportunity. After getting a fresh layer of sauce applied, it was just a matter of getting these kicks in the icebox for another 48-hour session. After a 48-hour session, I removed the kicks from the icebox and then cleaned off all of the excess sole sauce before I made my comparison shots.
These Space Jams have officially been inside the icebox for another 2 days. Let's take a closer look so we can get a comparison between the Salon Care 40 on the left shoe and the fresh Chris Custom Kicks on the right. Something that's definitely worth mentioning is when these kicks were taken out of the icebox, the right shoe treated with Chris Custom Kick Sole Sauce seemed to have a bit of cloudiness within the actual icy components of the outsole, and I think that this might be due to the fact that the Chris Custom Kick Sauce seems to penetrate a bit deeper into the sole itself. At this point in time, I would have to say that this right shoe is looking a little bit better. Obviously, both of these shoes are still pretty damn yellow at this point in time, but it's definitely worth noting that the right shoe definitely seems to be less yellow and a bit more translucent. Well, I definitely think the amount of de-yellowing that we'll be able to achieve on this pair is limited just based off of the amount of wear that these sneakers have seen. I think that one more session in the icebox is warranted at this point in time, so we're going to do one last session so you guys can see if there's any sort of significant difference. But honestly, I think that we've gotten these things nearly as good as we're going.
You guys have already seen this process done plenty of times, so I'm not going to harp on it anymore. Just remember that you're going to apply a fresh layer of sauce, place your sneakers in the icebox for 48 hours, remove your sneakers, clean off the excess sauce, and bam, good to go.
These Space Jams have officially been in the icebox for one final session, and it's time to give them a closer look to see what the final results are like. From the picture on screen, it might be pretty challenging to tell, but the right shoe is actually definitely looking a bit better than the left shoe, which is giving me a lot of confidence that Chris Custom Kick Sole Sauce is superior to the Salon Care 40 Volume Cream. I say this because even though both shoes are still pretty yellowed, the spots on the right shoe that have de-yellowed have definitely de-yellowed more. The hue seems to be quite a bit lighter, and the shoes are definitely more translucent and easier to see through to the carbon fiber plate. I'm not gonna lie, I am a bit surprised that I didn't get some more substantial results. I attribute this to the wear and overall use that this specific pair has seen, and very potentially due to improper care and cleaning during the lifespan of these shoes with the previous owner. Because of this, there's definitely going to be another episode with Chris Custom Kick Sole Sauce in it, where I'll be testing a pair that has more potential to get iced. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think of the Chris Custom Kick Sole Sauce, and if you've ever used it before, what's your experience been like? If you guys enjoyed today's video or found any of the information that you learned useful, definitely hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. It only takes you 10 extra seconds and really goes a long way in helping to support this channel. Make sure that you check up on the website at www.sailboatsupplies.xyz to stay up to date with all of the projects and inventory that I have in stock. And if you're interested in keeping up day to day, follow me at Sailboat Supplies. I really appreciate everybody that came through today to check out this video. Your support means a ton to me. And thank you to everybody that stuck around until the cold, bitter end of this video. You guys already know, I'm Sailboat and I'm out of here.